You know the feeling. It's been a long, tough day, and you find yourself just staring into the fridge. You're not even sure you're hungry. Well, it turns out there's a really fascinating biological story behind why stress so often sends us running straight for the snacks. So let's unpack the science behind that snack attack.
Yeah, it's a feeling pretty much all of us know, right? The pressure builds up and boom. Suddenly, the only thing that sounds good, the only thing that makes any sense is a bag of chips, or maybe a pint of ice cream. But here's a thought. What if I told you that urge isn't really a choice?
Exactly. And let me be clear, this is not a lecture about having more self-control. Not at all. This is about your body's ancient, hardwired survival chemistry. That feeling, it's the direct result of a super complex chain reaction of hormones. And you know what? Understanding that is the absolute first step to changing the whole pattern.
Okay, so to really get why we stress eat, we've got to go back to the beginning. We need to look at our body's most basic response to any kind of threat, whether it's ancient or something you're dealing with today.
And that response is the famous fight or flight. It's really the cornerstone of how we handle stress. Think about it. Whether the threat is a looming deadline at work or, way back when, a saber-toothed tiger, your body kicks into the exact same gear. It's an absolutely incredible survival tool. But it's not always so helpful in our modern world.
So how does this alarm system actually work? Well, it's a super fast chain reaction. It all starts in your brain and involves a couple of really powerful chemical messengers. Let's break it down.
Okay, so the second your brain even thinks there's a threat, your hypothalamus, which is basically the command center in your brain, it just hits the panic button, and that unleashes a flood of stress hormones to get your body ready for immediate action.
And that's when two key hormones show up on the scene, adrenaline and cortisol. You can think of these two as the main characters in this whole biological drama. They both answer the same alarm bell, but they have very, very different jobs to do, especially when we're talking about your appetite. All right, and this is the crucial difference right here. Adrenaline is the first responder. It hits you fast and hard, and it actually shuts down your appetite. I mean, think about it. If you're in a real immediate crisis, eating is the last thing you're going to think about. But when that stress doesn't just go away, that's when the long-term manager cortisol takes over, and its whole game plan is the complete opposite.
And this brings us right to the heart of the whole stress snacking cycle. See, the real problem isn't that short-term scare. It's the stress that just hangs around. And that is cortisol's territory. So cortisol's main job is to make sure you have enough energy to power through a stressful time. But what happens when that stressful period turns into weeks or even months of chronic stress? Well, cortisol never gets the memo to power down. Its levels stay high, and that's when it starts sending some really powerful and problematic signals throughout your body.
And this is what that looks like. When cortisol stays high, it tells your body a few things. First, it cranks up your overall appetite. But it's not just any food it wants. Oh no, it makes you crave high-sugar, high-fat foods, the quick energy stuff. It also tells your body to store more fat, especially around your midsection. And to top it all off, it can make you feel hungry even when you've just eaten. It's a real mess.
And here's the kicker. This isn't just a physical thing, it's happening in your brain too. When you eat those comfort foods, they trigger the brain's reward system, releasing a chemical called dopamine. That's the feel-good stuff. It gives you this temporary feeling of relief. So your brain learns this pattern super fast. Oh, I feel stressed. If I eat this, I feel better. And so the cycle begins.
Now that cycle might feel good for a minute, but over time, it really takes a toll. So let's talk about the so what. What are the actual long-term health impacts of being stuck in this loop?
Yeah, the impact here goes way beyond just gaining a few pounds. This chronic stress eating cycle can lead to a whole cascade of serious health issues. We're talking weight gain, for sure, but also metabolic problems, a higher risk for heart disease, and increased inflammation all over your body. It can even mess with your sleep and digestion, and of course, poor sleep just makes your stress hormones even worse. It's a classic vicious cycle where our emotional state gets tangled up with our physical health.
Okay, that sounds pretty bleak, right? We've laid out this whole biological problem. But, and this is a big but, the good news is we are not powerless here. The key isn't to try and fight your own biology. It's about learning to work with it. So how do we actually do that?
Well, instead of just white-knuckling it and trying to resist the cravings, a much smarter approach is to manage the root cause, the stress itself. So let's look at some proven strategies that actually help regulate your body's response. Now, these are not just generic wellness tips, okay? These are direct biological interventions. Things like practicing mindful eating, taking a short walk. That can literally lower your cortisol levels. Using deep breathing techniques does the same. Keeping your meal patterns regular helps stabilize your blood sugar so you don't get those crazy hunger spikes. And getting enough sleep, that's absolutely crucial for regulating your hormones. Each one of these gives your brain a new, healthier way to cope, and that helps break that old stress-eat-reward pathway.
And really, this is probably the most important takeaway of all. Look, life is always going to have stress. We can't eliminate it. The real power comes from understanding your body's automatic reaction and then consciously choosing a different response, one that actually supports your health instead of working against it.
So, the next time stress hits, think about this. What story is your body going to tell? Because now you know the science behind that craving. You have the power to rewrite the script. You can recognize that cortisol surge for what it is, just an ancient alarm bell. And you can choose a new and much smarter way to answer the call.